Hello everyone and welcome back to Paper Crafting with Paul and for my latest project. Now last year I was lucky enough to get onto the Graphic 45 brand ambassador team and my time has come to an end, so they're looking for a new team, but because I've only been on it for 1 year it means I can actually reapply. So this is my audition piece for the brand ambassador call. So I've made a little album because we're supposed to show off our strengths and I love to make mini books. So I've gone for some little things because I want something nice and bright and sunny because at the moment it's very wet and rainy here in Wales. So what are my strengths? My strengths are paper usage. So you'll see as I go through this, I actually use my papers very carefully. So I'd already made a project using these papers. This was made using leftovers. And I still have this much, so I've got enough to make a third project for sure. And so with lots of clever measurements, this is what I've come up with. Now, if you want to see this in all its glory, I will do a separate walkthrough in more detail. But I've used the journal cards because I had those packs and the new pads come with them. So they are 6x4 and 3x4, which is what a regular photos would come in. So I'm calling this album my really usable album because all the spaces are usable for 6x4s and 3x4 photos. So as we go through, you can see where 6x4s and 4x4s fit in. So in this video, I did a little boo-boo here. So at the end, you'll probably see that this does look a little bit different because I have fixed it. So I've got 6x4 photos. We've got room for our G45 tags. I've used some Coll Katz photo slots there because they fit then your 3x4 photos nicely onto that black mat there. And you can interchange them then. So this album is perfect for beginners. As I said, you can probably make 2, maybe even stretch to 3 if you've got some patterns of solids left as well. From a 12x12 pad, but it's mainly using pockets. So it's all different pockets and a couple of flaps so that you just learn that technique and you can actually make an entire album just using pockets. So this is a pocket, a belly band, which is very similar to a pocket, and then you've got pocket and pocket, but with a flap added, which is just one score line. So all the skills in this are nice basic skills. So that is my strengths, being able to use my patterns and making usable albums. So that is the project. If you want to make the project with me, it could be handy to go over to my Facebook group, which is called Paper Crafting with Paul. There'll be a link in the description below, or just type Paper Crafting with Paul into Facebook and it should pop up. And if you go to the file section, you'll be able to find this PDF with the cutting and scoring guide, which I'll be using as we go through. So grab your favorite papers, grab your basic supplies. Nothing fancy needed here, no dies or anything. Unless you want to do the G45 tags, of course, then the dies are amazing. Grab the PDF, grab your papers and your supplies, and let's get going. Okay, so I'm ready now to start making the album. So I've got my trimmer first. We're going to do our cutting. A really helpful thing is my cutting guide. And the way to get this is to join my Facebook group, Paper Crafting with Paul, and head to the file section. You'll see the really usable album PDF, which you can just print off and then we can just sort of tick off as we go through. Here it says pages, there's 4. When I do it, I'm only going to do 1 because just to save some time, I've already done 3 because they're all exactly the same. So we'll start off with spine 1. So I've got my black cardstock here. And I do have a pencil, so I may just write down as well which piece I'm doing and try and be a little bit methodical. So the spines are 5.5 tall. So I'm going to cut this piece of cardstock at 5.5, but I'm actually going to go just a hair's breadth less than 5.5. That'll just make it easier for my pages to slide on to later on. So the first one is going to be 1 7/8. So it's just 1/8 less than 2 inches. And the second one, spine 2, is going to 5.5 by 2 5/8. So 2 4/8 would be half, 5/8 is 1 more. So this is going to give me a space of 3/8 of an inch between my pages. And this is spine 2. And then I just flip them over and put them off to the side. So when I come to assemble, I'll just flip it over, or to score actually would be the first thing to do. I can just flip them over and they'll all be in order. So next is my page bases. So I said I'm going to need 4 of these, but I've done 3 already. So I'm going to cut it at 7 inches. By 11.5. So that's all I'm doing now is just working through my cutting guide. So just a little bit I'm taking off. In fact, you don't actually need to take that bit off if you didn't want to. So this is page bases. And I'm going to flip it over. So you'd do another 3. So now, inside cover. So IC means inside cover, large pocket and a small pocket. So let's do our large pockets first. So we need 2 of them, one for the front and one for the back. Now these are 8 3/4. So I've got to cut that first because my cardstock won't be long enough otherwise. And the first, by 4. And 4. So I could write on them just so I know what they are, but just for speed in the film, you've seen how to do it. Flip them upside down, and now we're going to do the small ones, which are 5 by 4.5. So I got this offcut, so 4.5. I didn't check. By 5, and I've got another. Am I going to get 4.5? No. I might get after this one. 4.5 by 5. So I keep all my larger offcuts just off the side, so in case I need to get anything. All right, so I've done those, and those. So now on to page 1's belly band. 6.5 by 4.5. So if I do the 4.5 first. Means I keep that offcut a larger piece by 6.5. There we go. And this is the belly band. So we've done the belly band. We just need to do a pocket now, which is 5.5 by 2.5. So this 5.5 by 2.5. So this is for page 1 as well. So now we're on to page 2 and 3. So they're identical. So we're going to cut 2 of each of these now. So the first one is my large pocket, and they are going to be 6.5. So I'm going to cut that first. 6.5 by 3.5. So this is for page 2 and 3. Page 2 and 3. So those were the large ones. And now we're going to do some small ones. So again, 6.5 by 2.5. So let's have a look. Is that 5 inches? Yeah. So 6.5 So I'll be able to get my 2.5 and a 2.5 out of these. So this is for page 2 and 3. 2 and 3. So we've done all those pockets. So page 4, we've got this quite large pocket, which is 8 by 4 3/4. So 8, 4 3/4. And this was page 4. And then we need a flap, which is 7 by 2 1/4. I wonder if that offcut would be big enough. Yes, it is. So let's get this into the 2 1/4. By 7. So this is for page 4 as well. There we go. So now on to page 5. 4 by 6 1/2. I don't think I've got, no, we haven't got any offcuts for that, so 4 by 6 1/2. This is page 5 pocket. So I could write it in full page 5 pocket if I had time. That's what I would normally do. 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. So let's go for 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. This is page 5. That's the flap. And the last 3 pieces now. So page 6 and 7 all use this 8-inch piece. So they're all 8 inches. I'm going to cut that first. And we need 2 of them at 3 1/2. Six and 7, and now we want 2 at 2 1/2. That one's just too short, and that piece is just too big, short. So 6 and 7. So I'm gonna have to just get another piece. 2 1/2 by 8. So that's page 6 and 7. And then we just got this last piece, which is a 4-inch square. So that's too small. Let's use the piece we just had. 4 by 4. So that now is all my cutting done. So this is for page 8. And because of the way we've put them, when we flip them over, that spine one, which is the first thing we cut, is now back at the top. So we can grab our scoreboard, and I'll keep my sort of methodical approach going. I'm going to grab my scoring tool, which is just a ballpoint end. And my score instructions say OT. That means on top. So if it's the long one on top, you put it on top of your scoreboard. If it says R, it means you just rotate it 180 degrees to do it on the other side. So if we have a look at spine 1, we've cut it to that size. So scoring is 1 7/8 on top, at 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, rotate it, and 1/2 and 3/4 again. So in real terms, that means 1 7/8 is across the top. We score at half, and we score at 3/4. We rotate it 180 degrees, half an inch, and 3/4 again. And that'll leave us 3/8 of an inch gap in the middle. So that's spine 1 done. I'm going to put it face down off to the side and do the same spine 2. 2 5/8 on the top at half, 3/4, rotate, half, and 3/4. And I place that on top. So the page base, I've obviously done 3 already, so I'm going to put them over there. And it says, with the 11.5 on top, at 5.5 and 11. Oh, I got up on top of my pieces there. So it gave me a bit of a bow in my scoring board. So now, you'll have to do that 3 more times. Inside covers, we've got 2 of these. And it says, scored half an inch on 2 short sides and 1 long. So I'm going to go down 1 long, a short, and a short. So 2 shorts and 1 long. And put it down. And again, 2 shorts and 1 long. So there's the long one, a short one, and 2 short ones. Here we go. And now this time, on 1 of the short edges, and 2 of the long ones. So 2 long and 1 short. So all these scores at half an inch. It's giving us our little hinge. So this now is the belly band. So we're going to do at 6.5. Oh, sorry, on 2 short sides. Half an inch, half an inch. And on top of that belly band is going to be this pocket. So we're going to do 2 short and 1 long. So we're going to go down 2 short sides and 1 long side. Now we're on to pages 2 and 3. So we've got 4 pockets to do. So page 2 and 3, we've got 2 short and 1 long. So here's my long one, a short, and a short. And this one exactly the same. Ooh, it moved. So you'd obviously take a bit more time than I'm doing. And again, 1 long and 2 short on the smaller pockets. So on to page 4 now. You can see, as soon as you get into the rhythm, you just know what to do. So page 4 pocket, 2 short sides and 1 long. Here's a long, oh, here's a long one, a short, and both shorts. And then it has a flap. So we're going to just do half an inch at 1 long side. So page 5, we've got a pocket, 2 short and 1 long. And then we've got the flap, so down 1 long side. Page 6 and 7, 2 short and 1 long. So here's 2 short, 2 short, and 1 long edge. And then we got the small pockets, and it's the same on both shorts and one long. And the final piece is these triangles, which is a 4x4, and it says at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So that's a nice easy one. There we go. So we're then done with our scoring board. I'll try and bring everything back in order still. And it's time to grab my double-sided tape. So this is a nice strong double-sided tape. It's the Sticky Paws by Coll Katz. That's what I get here in the UK. Score tape, anything you want would work. And what we're doing is putting tape wherever we've done a 1/2 inch score line. So this is a 1/2 inch edge here for the spine one. So I'm just taking my tape and I'm applying tape at each side. So I'm not going onto the score line. I'm just going between the score line and the edge of my cardstock. And the same with spine 2. So it's just the 2 outer edges. So between the edge cardstock and your 1/2 inch. So these are my 3 pages, which I've already done. And this is my 1/2 inch one here. Then I've got these pockets. So I'm going to come down. So I scored the 2 short and 1 long. But I'm going to be cutting off this square here where they meet. So I'm not going to bother wasting my tape there. I'm just going up to that score line on the bottom and just marking in there. And you've got 2 of these. So with my albums, a lot of the time is spent preparing, cutting, scoring, rather than assembling as we go. I just find it easier and faster to do it this way. So it may seem like, oh, we haven't done anything yet. But as soon as we start building, it'll come together quite quickly. This is a belly band now, so I'm just going to do the top and the bottom. And see, this tape is great because you can just tear it off. Red liner tape works great as well, but it just takes so long cutting it and then all that static. This tape is fantastic because it really does speed up my crafting. So you see, we're just going into an autopilot, not really thinking about it. This is definitely an album with lots of pockets. It's not until I started making this now I realised how many pockets we've actually got. But that's what makes it the usable album, because all the pockets pretty much will hold 6x4 photos. I mean, there are some spaces for 3x4s as well, but it's mainly 6x4s. And still some room for some little fun embellishments as well, which you'll see when I come to decorate. Oh, 4's a flap, so I'm just going to go straight across. Number 5 is a pocket. I can tell right now everything just looks like black squares, doesn't it? Or black rectangles, I should say. Number 5 is a flap, so yep, there is only one score line to do. Here we go. almost there. Last few pieces. And the last one. So well done if you sat through all that and you didn't end up fast forwarding me. Thank you for watching that bit. Right, so now we've got all our pieces prepped and ready to go. So I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to come up a bit closer to the camera now. So we've got our spine first of all. So our spine has got 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines. And this is going to be a flexi hinge. So that centerpiece is the bit that goes onto the spine of our album. The other ones then offer us a little hinge, which means that our album will flex on that bit. So it's like a little wing shape. To help my albums or my pages sliding on, I'm going to cut up to my 1/2 inch score lines. I just cut a little diagonal. That means that when I come to slide my pages on, it'll just be a little bit easier. Okay, so there's our spine done. I can do the same with spine 2. So I'm going to cut away those 4 little corners. I'm going to fold the 2 center ones upwards, and then the 2 outer ones will be some flaps. There we go. And before I carry on, I'm going to attach some double-sided tape on the back of spine 1. And I'm going to take it off. So that's nice strong tape, but over time, because we're adding weight to this, I'm actually going to add some glue as well. So it's got some acrylic glue here, and I'm just going to pinch it and place it down the center. So I'm just eyeballing it today. I could have measured it. That's pretty good. So now we've got 4 hinges for our pages to go onto. So that's my spine construction done. Just need some tape now on this back section. And I'm not going to be stingy on the tape here, because I don't want my album falling apart. So I'm going to put some down the middle as well. There we go. So that's my spine done. So I can put that off to the side. So now the pages. So as I said, I've done 3 already. This is my 4th. Just like I did on spine, I'm going to cut away the corners on my 1/2 inch piece there. I'm going to fold back that flap, and I'm going to try and crease this using my bone folder, or my Teflon tool in my case. And I'm going to really press hard on this, because we want to get that as flat as we can. If we just did it like that, when this comes up, it's sort of going to try and push itself out, and you can get a big bowed page, which you don't want. You want a nice flat page. So take your time with this, which is part of the reason why I did the other 3 ahead of time. So I'm scoring on both sides, and I'm really pressing quite hard. So that's why this Teflon tool is good, because it won't leave any of those grey residue marks behind. So I've got my page now quite flat. Open it up. I'm going to just take a piece of my double-sided and fold it back. So I've exposed just a little bit. And now I can move and everything around on this bottom bit without fear of it sticking. I can use my hand to get it nice and flat. So I'm sort of ironing it out and then just pulling on that tape. And that's given me a nice flat page. So it's not giving me that big opening mouth. So there's my 4-page bases done. And now it's on to the marathon of pockets. So with these pockets, we've got our score lines, our 1/2 inch score lines, which meter this cross. So I'm going to cut towards the cross. And rather than going straight, I'm just going to kink it across a little bit. And make it a little bit sharper than a straight line. That means then, when we come to fold them over, they're not going to meet. You don't want any overlap here. And then, again, as we did before, we're going to try and get them as flat as we can. So that is first one done. And so, as I said, as soon as you've learned how to do these pockets, you'll just whip through them. So this is the inside cover. And this one, exactly the same. All these pockets are going to have that mitered corner, which is more than a 90 degree when they come together. Go. So we've done the inside cover bits. We've now got our belly band, which I don't need to do any trimming on, but I do want to get this nice and flat, otherwise I'm going to get a very bold belly band. So try and get it, iron it out as flat as we can. This is the pocket for that belly band. And now we've got our page 2 and 3s. So these are the large pockets. So I'm rushing because I'm on a video. I would normally take a little bit more time doing this. But you probably think it's taking me long enough as it is. What is taking my time if this is going quickly? There we go. And now we've got some of the smaller pockets. So you see, as soon as you've learned how to do a pocket, album making is not too bad. I don't need my scoring guide anymore. And so probably thinking we're half an hour into this video now and we haven't built anything. But don't worry, this is the way I like to do my albums. Lots and lots of prep work, then the album will come together in a couple of minutes. pile is starting to get a bit tall now. So this is just a flap. So I'm going to fold over that 1/2 inch and then just trim off the corners. There we go. And because it's a flap rather than pocket, I'm going to really give it that extra sharp crease. My pile is starting to get a bit high now. So on to page 5 and the flap. And fold it back and burnish, and because it's a flap, I'm going to try and get a nice sharp crease. There we go. So 6 and 7, again they're exactly the same, so we've got 2 large. So you see, this is a good project for beginners because as soon as you've learned how to do one element, it's just the same, just in different orientations and different sizes. So on the penultimate page now. Again, if you've stayed with me for my marathon scoring session, or you're using this as you score along too, thanks for staying with me. And the last 2 pockets for this page. And then on that last one, we've got a little extra thing we need to do. So 6 and 7. And then number 4. Not number 4. The 4-inch square. I'm going to place back in my trimmer. In the channel, I'm going to put the 2 points in the trimmer. We're going to cut in half. So these are going to be some triangle pockets. So exactly the same principle, we're going to cut off the 1/2 inch at an angle, and then where they meet, I can do that, angle and turn. Right, there we go. The last 2 bits now for scoring. So I have got them in 2 piles here. So we've got my second pile and my first pile. So you must be thinking about the cover. Well, I've already prepped the cover because the cover does depend on your own covering method or preferred method. I like using this, the construction tape by Coll Katz. I find it a nice, quick, easy method, and nice and strong, and gives you a really nice finish. There are plenty of videos online if you want to do the paper covered method. So the size you want to cut your chipboard is 6 inches tall by 7 3/4. So you need 2 of them, one for the front and one for the back. And then the spine is 2 inches, so it's 6 by 2. And you will get a nice decent sized album. So the first thing we're going to do is attach our spine. Now you remember we covered it with tape, but we're also going to add the glue just because we're attaching it to this grey board piece. We want this to be nice and strong because it's what's going to hold all our pages together. Throw that away. So I'm holding it together so I can see these two pieces, and I'm just lining it up left and right, but also top and bottom. Then when I open it up, it sort of helps me because I've got a longer piece to see if I'm lined up nicely, and I am. And what you want to do now is lift those up and set it aside to dry. And whilst that's drying, that gives us an opportunity then to attach our pages. So what I'm going to do, a nice little tip, is I'm going to number my pages. So this is number 1, and it's this way up. 2, so you don't end up doing it upside down when you come to do the backs. 4, 5, 6, 7, and page 8. Okay, so page 1, we've got this. Oh no, that's not page 1, sorry. This is jumping ahead to myself. We're going to the inside covers. This is inside cover. So I'm taking off the tape, but I'm also adding some glue here because this is going onto our cover, onto this tape and onto chipboard. So I just want it to be stronger. So I'm just lining it up along the bottom of my page. I'm opening it up. Actually, no, I'm going to close it down and draw a line and open up. If you do have this tape, what you can do now is sort of camouflage some of that grey board underneath. So when you put your pocket on, your paper is going to come down to here, but you will see then black rather than grey board. And if you want this pocket to work its best, it doesn't have to be this tape, it can be any tape. If you just cover that lip of where you glued that hinge, that means now when you have your photo mats, little sneak peek, they will slide over that tape rather than knocking against that cardstock. Oh, and I'm going to lift it up, and we've got another one then to go on the right hand side. Again, just some glue just to hold on, not too much. There we go. There we go. And again, draw it. So if you haven't got this tape, just use a piece of black card, but you don't need to cover the whole thing. Oh, and on the lip. Where's my Teflon tool? There we go. And then just take off the two sides. There we go. And now we've got these two pockets now, these smaller ones, and they don't go with the opening to the top. It actually goes with the opening to the left on this side. And the reason I put it with the opening to the left, so this is the glued hinge section, is as you lift your cover, things will slide down into the pocket as opposed to sliding out of the pocket. So on this side, we're going to do it the other way. So I've taken off just the short side, which is what I should have done the other side. I could put tape down there again, like I did, but just to save time. So now my opening is off to the right. There we go. And this is where we can put our 3x4 photo cards. And you can see how it was catching there, and I had to lift it up to get it in. If I'd put my tape in, it wouldn't have caught. There we go, it went in fine on that side. So that's the inside cover. Now I'm going to set it off to dry and bring in page 1. So page 1 is my belly band, and I'm going to, let's have a look. If I put it off to the left and measure what's left here, it's 2.5. So if I do 1 1/4 and do a line, that's sort of roughly now where that will line up to be in the center. So I'm going to take off 1. So I've got my sticky one towards the bottom, and I'm going to line up the top, fold this back and press it down. So I've lined it up. So by not taking off both at the same time, it meant I was able to line this up and move it around a bit more without it sticking. And now I've got a little pocket. So this time it's top slowly, so the sticky piece is along the bottom, and I'm sticking it onto my belly band. So I've learned my lesson earlier, always put your tape down. There I was thinking I had been used save time. There we go. So we've got our belly band and a pocket. So we're going to turn over, and we've got page 2 and page 3 this time. And they are going to be vertical pockets. So I'm going to stick it down here with the hinge here. And take off the bits. And on the number 3 is going to be a mirror image. So I'm going to, I find it easy to turn it so I can see both my corners and press it down. Then I take off the tape and bring it together. And then we've got the smaller pockets, which are going to go exactly the same. So on top here, and a mirror image. So we're going to and fold over. So we've got 2 vertical pockets here and 2 vertical pockets here, but working in opposite directions. So page 1 and 2 is finished. I'm going to set it aside. Page 4. So page 4, we are going to have this big pocket on the bottom. So I've taken off, and I find it, if I'm going to turn it upside down, and I've got my sticky bit towards the top now, and I can just sort of look and eyeball the 2 corners. I don't know why, but I just find it easier to do it upside down. So one thing's to be able to be put into this pocket so it's nice and deep. And so page 4 does have this flap. And if you want to use your corner rounder or your fancy edges, this is the one you can do it on. There we go. So that's page 4, which is a flap and a deep pocket. So that's number 4 done. So 3 and 4. So now we can move on to 5. So 5 has got a pocket off to the left, but open to the right. So again, turn it to the side so I can line it up. So you can see it took us a long time to prep this, but it's actually flying by with the with the assembly. So number 5, and just to hide it, we're going to add this flap to this side. So the hinge is on this outer piece. So that's page 5 done. So we've got 6 and 7, which are identical pages, which are these 2 long horizontal pockets. So again, I'm going to turn it upside down, remembering to add my hinge to the bottom, which is the top. Here we go. And again, number 7. And we've got 2 slim ones which are going to go directly on top. This is 5 and 6, 7. Again, I'm just going to turn it upside down. So we've got those double pockets. So these 2 pages hold a lot of photos and ephemera and memories there. And the last one now is page 8. We've got these 2 triangle pockets. So these then just get placed in the corner. There we go. And that is our album constructed, other than having to put it inside here. But I find it easier with this album to decorate before we even attach it. So I'm going to put all these things away. I'm going to get all my stuff for decorating. So here we are, all ready to decorate. So what have I got? I've got my distress ink, so I can go around to cover the corners. I did grab my corner rounder because I'm going to corner rounder that flap. I've used an older collection today, Little Things. So I did get this at the start of last year's brand ambassador term. And I've did one of my ambassador projects with it. So I've got a few pieces left because I want to show you that you don't need a full collection to cover it. Now, I haven't planned ahead. So you're going to see my thought process as I decorate as well. I've also got some of the journal cards left over from that project as well. But don't worry, you don't need these now because the newer 12x12 pads have 6x4 and 3x4 journal cards in them ready. So ahead of time, I've taken 2 of my journal cards. So I haven't got any more of them because I used them. But what I've done is I cut out an element from the middle, from one, so that piece, from the bottom card. Then I cut this larger piece out and I've 3D mounted it twice. So it's got a bit of a dimension going on. So that is my card. So let's have a look at what paper might go with that. Now you will notice that I did choose my measurements. Ooh, that's nice because it's the same one. Let's stick with that. I've chosen my measurements very carefully as I made my album to make the most out of my papers. So hopefully one sheet will cover more than one side of my pages. So we're starting with the cover. So my rule of thumb is whatever size your rectangle, go 1/4 of an inch less. So my album cover is 6 inches tall, which means I'm going to go down 1/4 of an inch. So there's 6. We're going to go down to 5 3/4. Now I already know I'm going to need 2 sheets of this to cover the back as well. So 5 3/4. In fact, I could cut them both at the same time. If I do them that way, I won't have identical ones. And the album was 7 3/4, so I'm going to go back to 7 1/2. And the only time I tend to stray from that is when I'm doing my spine. So my spine was 2 inches, and I'm only going to go down 1/8 on my spine, because otherwise you've got black from here and black there, causing double blackness. So I'm just going to go down 1/8, so just a tiny bit smaller. So I've got these 2 pieces, great for doing some G45 tags. Just saying, these measurements were done with paper saving in mind. So I did cut one so that it matches. There we go. So my front and spine, I like to sort of have that continuation. The back, I don't mind so much because I couldn't get it out. So we're just going to make a nice easy cover today. So I'm just taking this black soot distress ink around the edge. It just gets rid of that white core, because I know you probably can't see it now, but as soon as you put this on black, you sort of see that white edge. So this sort of just camouflages it. So it is a bit more time consuming, but it's worth it in the end. And then just grab my glue. I'm going to make sure we go right up to the edge. And cover it. So make sure it's the right way up. And just center it there. And my spine. Is this one sheet of 12 by 12 is going to cover our whole album. And the back piece. Of course, I could have flipped it over and used the other paper, the B-side on the back, but I do think it's nice to have it all in the same paper, like so. And now, I've already got 2 layers of dimensions, so I'm going to glue this on flat. So I've mounted it onto a piece of black cardstock. There we go. So within, we've got our cover, which I always find the hardest bit for some reason, all done. And the inside is going to be the same measurements. So we're going to cut it at 5 3/4 by 7 1/2. So let's have a look at which paper we can use. I do like, oh, I like that. Let's go for that. So let's move my album out of the way so I get a nice flat surface. So 5 3/4. Oh, yes. Those who have followed me know I like the Graphic 45 text ones. Oh, and what I'm going to do actually this time is go 6 inches. This is just for this piece because we've got that pocket, and I'm going to flip it over. And it was, always double checking, 7 1/2. So I'll flip them over so that they're not identical. So when you open it up, I'll show you what I mean now. If I kept them the same orientation, both these pieces would have been identical pattern wise, and when you open your album you would have realized that they're actually the same size. So you may think this is too big now, so what I'm going to do is cut off a bit off the bottom. So it's going to be 3 1/4, and we're going to do it on the text side. Now, if you wanted a pattern continuing all the way up, like the text, you would have cut it 1/4 inch less. But because I'm going to flip the top, that little extra 1/4 inch just gives me a bit more paper underneath my pocket there. So there we go. Those bits left over are going to be our top bits. Now, don't cut these together because they are different, so you need to take it from the left this time. So this rectangle is 4.5, so I need to go 4.25. So we're going to have pattern continuing. I cut that wrong, haven't I? I did. What did I cut it at then? I cut it at 3.75. So let's do it. We need 4.25. Here we are. Not the end of the world. I'm going to do an invisible repair. You've probably seen me do this before if you followed my channel. So I'm going to put some double-sided tape, half on and half off. Then just line this up, pushing it in, and then dropping it onto the tape. And you won't even know there was a mistake, especially once we do this and we glue it down. And there I was saying you've got to be careful which way you measure, and I go and do it the wrong way. But it's not the end of the world. You can't even tell. So that's the back page. Get some more ink. And that is then going to go inside. And you've got your words going across. Now this time, we've got to measure from this side. And let's double check. It's 4.5, which means it's 4.25. Let's have a look. And I got it right that time. I mean, these things probably would have been there for me to have just cut the film, gone and grabbed another piece. But I think little tips like that, especially when you're starting off, are quite handy. If you do a mistake, it's only paper and there are ways around it. So now we can start to stick our pieces down. Now when it comes to doing a pocket, I'm going to take that tape off. I always cover the pocket front first and then the liner that goes in, because I can line it up a bit better. So I can line these 4 sides and then move this around to match. So I know how far in and things I need to go then. So I can line it up with this as well. And you get everything a bit neater measurement wise. We're going to do exactly the same on the other side, just without the double-sided tape, because there's no invisible repair needed here. So I can do the liner first here because there's nothing to line it up. It's not a continuing pattern. Whereas if I was doing a continuing pattern, I would do this pocket front first. I don't know if there's rhyme or reason to it, but it's just something I've always done. And it seems to make sense in my head to do it that way. Yes. Here we go. And that is our album cover all done. I gotta say, I'm really liking it. So now it's time to look at page 1. Now page 1 and page 8, I tend to think about the inside cover. So maybe we carry on with the same paper because they are next to each other. Now all the pages are what do we say, 5.5. So we're going to be cutting 5 1/4 inch strips. So 5 1/4. I'm going to cut another 5 1/4. That's ready for page 8. And both of these are covered using just one piece. So we're going to, it's 7-inch page. So 7-inch page. Oh, because this is a belly band, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to give myself a bit of extra leeway here. So our belly band is 4.5. So I'm going to cut this at 4 1/4. So that's going to cover my belly band. The bottom pocket is 2 inches. So off the bottom, I just want to cut 1 3/4. And I'm going to keep that as a pattern continuing up there. And I think that is going to be enough for doing thing. And I keep that nice and long. And I'm going to go back to this piece that I had, or I'm going to keep, no, I'll keep that for tags. Is this going to be enough? It's not. Tell you what, I am going to cut it from this then. I'm trying to be frugal, and maybe I shouldn't worry too much. I'm going to cut 1.5, 2 inches. It doesn't matter as long as you've got, let's go 1 3/4 then. We're going to go 1 3/4. These are going to be aligners tucking underneath. So the longer they are, the less black you see. That's the only difference. So we're going to flip them over and have them that way. And again, just a quick inking. And with these, I just save time. I'm just going to do the 3 sides which are showing. Here we go. So these are our 4 pieces. So with my ambassador project this year, you know, I wanted to do an album that was accessible to everyone. Economical with paper, but also had its use, and it was useful because you can actually fit 6x4 photos in all the places. There we go. And this pocket, just so you know, does fit one of the G45 tags. And now these 2 are the lining pieces. So I'm just going to open it up and tuck it in. And then line up those 2 corners. And the same on the other side. There we go. Oh, that's not quite straight to me. No, it's already stuck. A little bit of a mistake. I'll try and hide that maybe with a border or something. But you can see how you can get pattern continuation. So that's page 1 done. Page 2 and 3 are going to be nice and easy, I think, because we just have them running straight across. So let's have a look at what we've got. So that would be nice because you're going to see lots of them. That could be a bit more awkward. That, although we've got vertical pockets, might look strange because some of the cuts might come. If I'd known this was the paper I was going to use in the first place, I may have just used it. Right, let's stick to this one. So again, our papers are going to be cut at 5 1/4 by 6 3/4. So 5 1/4. 3/4. And they were 7-inch pages, weren't they? Yes, 7-inch pages. So 6 3/4. And remember on this one, I'm going to take it from the other side, just so they're not identical. Okay. So the first pocket is 2 inches. So I've got one page upside down and one the correct way. So I'm going to cut them at the same time. So 2 inches. So I'm going to go down to 1 3/4. And then the visible piece of the next one is 1 inches. So I'm actually going to take 1 inch. There we go. And then those are the 2 bits left over. So when I bring them back out, they should line up, ready for our, so we can have pattern continuation. We can turn over these two, the center ones. We can have alternating, going across. So it's up to you. So I like this wording. That's my problem. Of course, the back then isn't going to have pattern continuation because it would have been that way round. So if you did want to flip over and have these pattern continuation, you'd have to think about that ahead of time, unlike me. So maybe we could do these 3 pattern continuing, then that, and have that off to the side. What should we do? I think we're going to just stick to pattern continuation, just because they are people and we've got faces and things cut in half. I told you I hadn't planned this and that you'd see my thought process, so now you understand why I choose papers for different places. And it does depend on the paper using. Like I said, I changed what I was going to do here because I was going to have some flipping over, but with those faces, it just didn't sit right with me. And the last one. So again, as I said on the last page, always start with the pocket rather than the liners and line everything from there. So there's the first one. And the second. And the third. And then the same on the left. I'm going to do 1. I had a panic then. We had that piece gone. This is the liner. And then the large liner. So you've got page 1, 2, 3. We're now on to page 4 and 5. So let's have a look at what papers we can use here. Quite like this red. Let's go for this. So again, it's going to be 5 1/4. I'm going to cut both of them. And the pages are 7 across, so we're going to go 6 3/4. Now I'm not going to worry too much about them being the same direction this time. I think this pattern is so small you wouldn't even realize, but I do have to remember there are butterflies. Okay, we're gonna have to remember those. So let's start with page 4. So page 4 is this pouch. So the pouch is 4 1/4, so we're going to cut it at 4 inches. Make sure my butterflies are the right way around. And I did grab my corner rounder, so I'm going to use the large corner rounder here on my cardstock. And then my paper, I will use the medium one. So I hope 1 1/2. 1 1/2. I made that flap so that we're able to use the top of this. So we can, what was it again? 6 3/4. And let's use the dotty side here. So I'm going to use the medium. So that then is going to go on the inside there. Or actually, because it's dots, it can go on the outside. And then page 5 has got this flap open to the right. So we need to put our paper down here onto this pocket first. So it's a 3 1/2 inch pocket, so 3 1/4. So if I sounded far off here, because I was actually looking for the butterflies. So this will be my pocket. And this is going to be the liner, so I'm going to flip it over to the green side. Now we have these 2 pieces left from when we cut our, oh, actually square. So let's make sure the butterflies are the right way up. There we go. So this flap is where we're going to utilize these. So it's 4 inch flap. So I'm going to go to 3 3/4. So I've cut both because we need one on the inside as well. So see, all this has come from the one sheet. The only thing I do need then is a paper from later on. So I might use this one for the top of the flap here. Oh, I've got, is that going to bring up the blue? We'll have to see. Okay. So where are we? How much did we ink? I know I've inked those 2. I now need to ink these 2. So I'll put that one on the inside, and on the outside we'll go for the green, just to break it up a little bit. Don't, I think too much of that floral might be a bit too much for the eyes. There we go. And there's that. And the flap. So I said I'll come back and do the liner at the end of the project and see what I've got left. So that's the main pocket. And with this having flaps each side, you obviously don't want them opening up all the time, so you will need a closure. Now, closures add quite a bit of time onto a video, so I've actually got an album called my closure album using Farmhouse by Graphic 45. So if you have a look in my playlists for the closure album, you'll find an album dedicated where each video is for a different closure on each page. So all the pages are exactly the same, just a different closure. So for this one, I've actually prepared some swivel closures, and it is one of my favourites because it can be added after decorating. So you don't have to decide on paper and stuff. You can wait till the very end and add them later on. So I'll show you closures. So they just have a little swivel portion. So I've got some tape on the back ready and some glue. Oh, I haven't put the paper on yet. Here we go. So there's one. Oh, I was supposed to put the green down, wasn't I? Oh well. I'm going to have to go this way, so it's a bit much, but what I can do, I can put a topper or something on this. Let's have a look. I'll have a look through my journal cards. We'll cut the piece over and we'll, because that is a bit too much flowers, isn't it? And then a second closure. So I've gone for a swivel on each side. So somewhere in the middle, place it down. And then that'll just swivel and close. But it's obviously not glued down yet. So if I put it there now, it will try to pop it up. There we go. So it's pressing down. So a bit of a silly mistake there. So we're racing through now. We're on page 6 and 7. So let's have a look at papers. I think we're going to go back to this one because we can have a pattern continuation on this one again. So let's grab the trimmer. And you'd think I'd remember, but I always double check that it is 5 1/4. 5 1/2, yeah, 5 1/4. Especially after that cut at the start of the video. 5 1/4 by 6 3/4. Again, turn it upside down. So the bottom pocket on these pages are 2 inches. Make sure they're both the right way. So 2 inches, I've got 2 inches on this side. My second pocket has got a 1 inch. So I'm going to cut it at 1 inches because it's a liner rather than covering a pocket. And then that leaves us with the last bits. Just that way. There we go. So we've got that, that, and that. And then that, that, and that. So there's one, so I'm only inking the 3 edges here. And the last little bits. think this is my old ink pad. It's having to work a little bit harder than usual. It's a bit dry, I think. There we go. So again, the full pocket one first, and then the liners, because then we can adjust the liners to suit. So we just try and tuck it in and move it up. So that's page 7 and page 6. And just put the liner in. There we go. And then the last one. There we go. And then we've only got page 8 to go. And if you remember, we kept this sheet back. And did I cut it? I thought we'd cut it, but we obviously haven't. 6 3/4. And then we've got these 2 little triangle bits. So what I'm going to do, are we going to have that with mushroom corners or that with red? I think I'm going to do this with red corners. So I'm actually going to place it in, and I'm lining it in the middle. So that's how it would be if I was doing just putting it down flat. I'm actually going to move it up to the top then. So I'm still lined up left and right. And I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw where those pockets are. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut on those pencil lines. So that'll go in there now. In fact, let's just put it instead of trying to fuss twice. Let's place that, and then the 2 triangles. Because we've got a text, what I've done is flip them over, like so, and they're just going to go into the corners. So I'm just going to leave it with a little tiny bit of black, just so you know it's a pocket. And the same on this side. And that is our final page. So, last job is to assemble. So we've already got our hinge system prepared. So I'm trying to move everything else out of the way just so we've got space to do it properly. So this is page 1. So I'm going to flip them over. This is page 8. I'm starting at the back over here and we've got tape on there. So I'm just going to take the tape off. So this now is adhesive, but just in case it grabs before I'm ready, I'm just going to put some glue. That'll act as an adhesive, but also make it slippery whilst we maneuver our pages on. I put some glue as well on the back. Otherwise, we've got an open edge. And I'm opening up my pocket and I'm placing this on and I'm stopping just shy of my score line. You don't want to go on the score line, otherwise you lose that flexy bit. So now I'm going to move on to my next page, which is going to go on like that. Again, remove the tape, put some glue on top, and open up the page. And this is where cutting off those corners has helped, because I can slide it on rather than battling a right angle there. There we go. So both of them flex. You can see they lie flat and flex as you move. And now I'm going to work on page 1. I think so. Let's open it up. There we go. And slide it on, making sure I'm actually inside the pouch, not trying to put it onto a pocket, and slide it there right into position. There we go. And just the final page. Holding our flap shut. Oh, there we go. The last one. I can't believe we've made the entire album. I've just got that bit to do later on. So just use my swivel closure there, swivel closure here. And that is the base of your album complete. So then it's just a case of making some photo mats. So this is one for 3x4 photo. It will fit in, it's upside down, so maybe that'll be better off on the back. And I've still got, and it wasn't a complete collection I started with, I've still got all these sheets left for doing some more decorating, some photo cards, some journals, anything we want. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you have, please give me a little thumbs up and a little comment below. It really does help. And hopefully you've enjoyed it enough to have a go yourself. If you do, share pictures in my Facebook group, Paper Crafting with Paul. Links in the group below. And if you've come here through the Graphic 45 brand ambassador call, please help and support my audition. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.